Tonight, we're joined by Carl, Thigh and Smy. If you guys have not checked him out, Thigh and Smy podcast. He's also the producer at Bears Country Podcast. Check them out as well. They produce a lot of content. So thank you for joining us tonight, Thigh.
Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure, man. And I just want to kick off the show by just sending out a little apology that I kind of feel like I kind of almost have to say sorry because I feel like I fell off my wagon. I feel like we were very consistent in our opinion, and here we go again. We're on this merry-go-round where we just let the hope win. I think I think we both knew deep down inside, Dave, me and you had this team as a 500 football team this year, all year. But then they snuck out this win. They looked good against some bad defenses. They had a bye week, and I think we were just hoping, really hoping that they would be able to come out and change and be different. And as bad as it was, I don't think it was much of a shock for me how that game looked.
Mhm.
It's just like, well, here we go again. We predicted that as a win. I feel bad about that because we should have kind of stuck to our marbles a little bit.
I agree. I literally was going in today thinking to myself, I'm almost embarrassed at how much I drank the Kool-Aid early on. We pride ourselves on just being like unwavering and not positive just for the sake of being positive. And I think we drank the Kool-Aid a little hard. There's some positives to take out of this, but I have 3 pages of notes of negatives. And they're long-term negatives, they're in-game negatives, and I'm ready to go.
Carl, I was on your channel, on your show. We did a good 2 hours about just talking about my football philosophy and my football expectations. And, I told you I want to win by design. I don't want to win by getting lucky. And that, in my opinion, is a perfect example of, almost sneaking out a win because you're getting lucky. And it's like this inflated win that makes you think you're better than you are when you're not, because you got lucky. Yeah, domination by design is my key. And that was exactly the opposite of what we saw.
I'll be your guys' punching bag, and I'll try and be Mr. Optimism.
You're going to have to be
Go the
because
negative route.
you ghosted us like 2 weeks ago. So
Yeah,
this is what we're going to put you through.
That was by design. I'm talking about by design. That was by design. I predicted, regardless of little Jaden or Marcus Mariota, I predicted a very easy Bears win. And I got it half right. I said that the Bears defense would stifle little Jaden, whoever it was, and they did. They held the Commanders to 12 legitimate points, right? They obviously gave up 18 at the end. But some of the other numbers that the Commanders have scored throughout the season, 20, 21, and then up to 38, 42, 34, 30, 40, or 23, 40. 12 is a lot less. So the Bears went into Washington, they shut that shit down, so to speak, and they did a great job, in my opinion. The other glass half empty is Caleb Williams, in my opinion. That offense did not look good against a team on paper whose defense is really bad. I think that Dan Quinn's a good head coach, a good defensive coordinator. But their offense did not look good last night. I think that the Bears, this is not a terrible showing like a lot of people are trying to make it out. I know it's Monday, a little bit overreaction, but I'll let you guys talk.
Yeah, David, we've talked in the past about this team being arrogant to an extent and the staff being arrogant. And, one of the things I go back on is playing checkers before you start to play chess. I always said, Yurko from ESPN said, when I'm on the line of scrimmage and I'm playing against an offensive lineman, it starts with the physical part. It starts with checkers. If I could just manhandle you and toss you around, we don't get to the hand fighting and you don't get to playing chess. You got to be able to play checkers first. And here we are, 12 to 7 in the fourth quarter, 6 minutes left, and we're going to hand the ball off to a guy who's got his thumbs taped.
Was it an asinine choice? Absolutely. It deserves a public apology, and anything less, I'm going to be very disappointed in.
Yeah,
yes.
You want to dominate. You want to dominate there just physically. Just give it to your running back, and you know what? The next time they're at the goal line, that's what they did, and they scored.
We can go into there right away if you want to start there. I had some positives ready to go, but on the Doug Kramer thing, there's a few parts to that, and that's why one of my negatives, like you talk about arrogance, you talk about stupidity, you talk about lack of game management capabilities. Doug Kramer was playing snaps at left guard yesterday. By the time he got that snap,
because
so
he had due to injury.
That's fine, but at that point, that play leaves your playbook. You cannot sacrifice your left guard at that point, your starting left guard, with a gimmicky, sweet little adorable fullback dive.
You're not Andy Reid. You
Here's-
don't earn the benefit of the doubt to get all cute
Guys,
in the fourth quarter like that. Like that's
Yeah, he treated it like a Disney movie. There's no excuse. It's not a Disney movie. It's a football
guys,
game.
you want to run fullback dives. Do you want to know how many carries your actual fullback had up until this point in week 8? Kari Blasingame, who was your actual starting fullback until 3 days ago, who got benched? 0. Kari Blasingame, I have 0 on my season totals. I don't know where you saw 2. I have 0.
Cut. He's cut.
He was
He's not
cut.
on the roster. Yeah.
But that's the
not
point.
benched.
Is
Cut. Yep.
That's what I'm saying. So he was injured for periods of time, healthy scratch for periods of time, mystery injuries that I call as, basically just keeping a guy on the roster and not keeping him employed while simultaneously, you know what I mean? That's what the Kari Blasingame injury was. It was a way to keep him employed, keep him on the roster until you had to cut him. Now he's a cut casualty due to IR returns. How many times have you run a fullback dive this actual season? 0. And in crunch time against the best team you've played all season, down 12-7, you are so clever that you want to give it to Doug Kramer. Your guy is Doug Kramer. Like, what are we doing here?
It's what we're talking about, though, David.
But the checkers and chess thing analogy is absolutely correct, and we agree on this. It's beyond that. It's so much worse than that.
We're going to cut our fullback, and then we're going to use our backup left guard to finally run a full. They'll never expect it.
They'll never see it coming. We're going to fake it left, then we're going to fake it right, then we're going to think about faking. So let's go positives. And this is like, honestly, I do want to start at a positive. One, that's a genuine positive. I have still 0 issue with Caleb Williams, other than the fact that I feel like he's being wasted under this staff. Caleb gets 2 plays at the line. He's allowed to check to one, check to the other based on the situation or whatever. I know that that's been an ongoing thing this season. And then once that was taken away, that's when the offense started to click. I can't speak to that. Part of the problem with that, even though, is if you are any decent offensive coordinator, that needs to be done halfway through the first quarter and not the fourth quarter, and then somehow turn that on to blame Caleb Williams for 33 yards through 3 quarters. If there's no rhythm because the rookie quarterback is underperforming in his rookie year, which he should, and you're a 6-year offensive coordinator in the NFL, you should not need 3 quarters to detect that, to detect what you need to be doing to give that kid a sense of rhythm in the offense. Because I still see when it matters and when he needs to perform, he's doing the things that will win you games in the NFL. The guy should have won 21-12, 21 to, right? Like, we're talking about, this is not on Caleb Williams by any stretch of the imagination. This game is not on him. There are 7 people I can blame in this game before I get to Caleb Williams, and even that's being generous to just kind of say, let's increase his ranking in the blame game, to just kind of say, like, hey, our quarterback didn't perform. CJ Stroud won plenty of games last year with similar stat line.
Yeah. If you had an honest conversation with Caleb Williams behind closed doors, off the record, I think that Caleb Williams would told you I needed to play better.
Like
100%.
100%.
Outside of the public scope, like genuine, he would tell you that.
He didn't
literally
bomb it.
missed like a 50-yard touchdown to speculation here. It would have been a big gain to Keenan Allen. I still think that he would have told you he should have played better. It's not that he's a bad quarterback, and it's amazing. I'd much rather have the quarterback that rises to the occasion and wins you the game at the end, as opposed to little Jaden who stat pads and has to rely on a Hail Mary to win a football game. I'd much rather have Caleb in that sense. But I do think that he could have played better.
But he didn't implode. So that's the
Not
thing.
by
It's
any
not.
stretch
It's
he
not
did
like
not,
he
no.
threw like 3 or 4 picks or like a pick 6 or 2. He didn't go out there and just completely shit the bed. He didn't play well enough. Of course, he could have played better. Definitely, 100%. But he didn't go out there and just completely cost you the game. And so I think that's where that quarterback growth conversation comes into play. Like, you're gonna have these hiccups, and I guess it's a positive that he didn't completely fall apart.
As one of my favorite YouTube and internet follows, Ben Solak, is one of my favorite things he says is progression is never linear, guys. It will never just go up. There's going to be plateaus and a dip and then a huge spike. And guess what? At some point this year, against a decent to above average team, Caleb Williams is going to have 400 yards and 4 touchdowns. It is more than likely going to happen. But I didn't see anything in that game that made me think like this guy sucks. He's never going to be able to throw 400 yards and 4 touchdowns. There's nothing that I saw in that game. I agree with you. Cold-blooded 100%. Totally should have played a little better. I do feel watching him and watching good Caleb Williams games. If I'm being honest, I felt a little bit of watching him play one-handed. I felt like it, whatever that reason is, whether it's his decision-making and he's underprepared after 2 weeks, which I would still blame on coaching staff at that point with a rookie quarterback, or he is making the wrong calls at the line or given too much power at the line and making those mistakes. That's a natural progression of a rookie quarterback. It's 8 games in. The guy's been playing literally 7 pro football games, and it's night and day from week 1. Although I would say the yesterday's game was probably the closest thing to week 1 that we've seen so far. So that's my positive. I'm just not freaking out about Caleb. I still have full trust. I want him to have a better coordinator and a better coach and really kind of take off in year 2. But honestly, and this is going to be kind of one of those like passive aggressive positives, I genuinely mean this. A positive of yesterday is that you lost. Because if you win that game yesterday, so much of the stink, and we said this like before over the summer, like sometimes you just can't tell with this team where the stench is coming from. And that was so bad with Justin Fields because everybody's blaming Justin and the lack of weapons and then the coaching staff and then Luke Getsy and then it's really Eberflus, but it's Poles not getting him weapons. And there's just the Bears are so good at covering where the stink is coming from. And I really do think if they win yesterday, that stink is going to be covered up. Like, what are we talking about today? We're talking about a shitty, gutted out, tough team. Eberflus is a tough, gritty coach who's toughing it out, and the defense wins championships and da-da-da. This game, it's like a throbbing, rotten fish in the middle of the market right now, right? Like it's a perfect scenario to actually find where the stink was coming from finally. And I'm genuinely happy. A win masks so much of this bullshit, and the loss is going to lead to progress because even if they do make the playoffs, which is super strong possibility, that's one of my third positives, is that the season is not over by any stretch. The team looked good as a team kind of can against a first seed. This was literally the playoff matchup if the playoffs started today. It's the 2 seed versus the 7 seed because the first seed gets the bye. This is a playoff game.
It felt like a playoff game like because of the magnitude of the quarterbers, the way that the defenses were playing. Yeah.
Sure. It ended like a playoff game. It was 30 seconds of 3 points, right? It was good. It was a good game.
What you're saying as far as the Bears, you don't want it to be a nasty clunker, scrape it out type of game where they earn the win and you kind of want them to face reality. The Chiefs have a lot of wins on their record this year that are exactly like that too.
They've earned those.
Okay, I understand where you're coming from, but once we get down the line and where we get to things are a little bit better, I do think that those types of wins, which we're already seeing, which are going to end up falling on the shoulders of the quarterback, we're already seeing those, and that's a direct positive on Caleb Williams.
Yeah, but like David said, though, they've earned those. They dominate by design. They'll take every lucky win they can get. They will. And they've earned it, right? Whereas our lucky wins would, like I said, give us an inflated sense of hope that this thing's actually good. It's kind of like 2018, where the team went, 12-4? And all we needed was a kicker, right? But turns out we weren't all that great. But we just went 12-4. But you know what? You got lucky in some of those games, right? And so it wasn't a true depiction of what that team was and where they actually were at. And so therefore, it wasn't handled properly. In real time during the game, I texted David and I said, I'll take this win as a dirty win. And he texted me right back. He goes, no, let him drive down, let him kick a field goal, go in overtime and keep kicking our ass. He's like, because we don't deserve this win. And time's up for this coaching staff. It's time to face reality and not have this curtain of inflated hope in front of us.